In this video, I want to talk about, in my opinion, what's the most enjoyable benefit from semen retention, in my experience, anyway. It's the benefit that's like everything to me. Because I spent over a decade in a state of chronic stress, and I didn't know it at the time. I think most people are in a state of chronic stress and they don't even know it because they don't know the alternative. They haven't felt the alternative. They know that something's wrong, but you don't know that you were chronically stressed. You don't know how bad it was. We oftentimes don't know how bad things were until we're now experiencing the opposite. Till we're experiencing how good it can be. We don't know how good it can be. I would guess there's 80 to 90% of people out there in the world, they are living in a state of chronic stress. Some more than others, but I think a lot of people are in a state of chronic stress. You can just tell by the way that they operate in life. They're not thriving. They're not leveling up, because what I've come to realize is that a state of chronic stress is actually just a severe lack of energy. That's all. In my opinion, that's all it really is. Because once I've built up this energy on semen retention, man, I can't get stressed about anything in my daily life. Something like one thing after another, after another, after another, anomaly after anomaly, up the chaos, up the pressure, it would have to compound. It would have to just be one thing after another, after another, after another. It would have to be quite extraordinary for me to get stressed. Whereas it used to not take anything for me to get stressed. I could be stressed going to the grocery store. I was so stressed, I couldn't even operate my life in the right way, and I couldn't even see it. I was so stressed. I lacked so much energy that I couldn't even see the errors in my thinking, the dysfunction in my thinking. I couldn't even see that. That's the thing, is like, you don't even know it when you're in it. I used to think that I was thinking the right way. I used to think, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. When in reality, I actually was making decisions that were, because I was in survival mode, because my body was screaming for more energy, because it had such a limited energy to operate with. And I'm talking core energy, I'm not talking manufactured energy. That's BS that you can get from like coffee and alcohol and nicotine. That's not real energy. You need that stuff. You crave that stuff so heavily because you have no energy. Because if you don't have that stuff, well, you're nothing. That's most people today. If they don't have that stuff, they're absolutely nothing. They're garbage. They can't function at all. So real energy requires no outside assistance. And back when I was chronically stressed, the decisions and the thinking that I would do were all based on, now that I look back on it, it was based on the fact that I must have known that I lacked energy, because I reorganized and I would rearrange and I would live my life and make decisions according to minimizing the potential for stressors, minimizing the potential for thinking more, having to think a lot, outside factors, variables coming into play. I wanted to simplify my life. I wanted it very simple. And what ended up happening is I could only have one job. I had to give up my car at one point. Like, my finances were terrible. I had to give up my car. I was riding a bike, taking buses. I was trying to just I felt like because I wasn't making enough money, because I didn't have enough energy, right? You don't make enough money and you don't have enough energy and you don't want to get a different job because that's just too much. You go outside of yourself to do that. Everything stresses you out. This is the problem, is you can't do these things. You can't make your life better because you don't have the energy to do it. Your body is, you feel like you're in danger if you try to make your life better. Because you are, because you're giving more energy than you have to give. And your thinking becomes very dysfunctional. If the pressure ever rises, if the entropy ever rises, if the chaos ever rises in the course of our day, man, I wouldn't have been able. I remember how I used to handle those things. I couldn't think clearly through stressful situations. I couldn't make proper decisions. Other people would be making the decisions. Other people would be showing me up. They would be pointing out the errors in my ways. I would make mistakes. If the pressure ever rose, I would make mistakes. I see a lot of young kids, and I see the way that they think and the way that they operate. And if the pressure ever rises, they start to make mistakes because they start to rush and they start to think like certain narratives, and they start to, because they have a lack of energy there, there's dysfunctions of mind. They're not thinking clearly. They're thinking about other things. And this is what a lack of energy will cause in you. It will cause a very inefficient mind. You will have an inefficient mind. You won't be thinking in certain scenarios. You won't be thinking about what you need to be thinking about. You'll be thinking about the wrong things. And this is why semen retention is crucial for men. If you're trying to be the man that you always wanted to be, if you're trying to be the best version of yourself, then you're going to have to be able to think clearly in high pressure situations. You're going to have to be able to deal with a lot on your plate, in quotes, because it's not going to feel like a lot. That's the amazing miracle of energy. That's the amazing miracle of it, is once you have it, you can do so much more and it don't feel like you're putting forth that much effort. You don't feel like it's that much work. You're not going outside of yourself. I remember when I was in that state, when I was in a chronic state of stress, and anytime I would try to level up my life or try to get ahead or try to do this or try to do that, do a side hustle, do this, I could not see it through. I could not do it. I couldn't handle the stress of it. I didn't have the energy to do it. But at the time, I didn't know that that was the problem. I didn't know that that was the problem. I had all these different ideas of why I couldn't do what I wanted to do in life, why I couldn't do this, why I couldn't do that, why blah, blah, blah. I think for a lot of people, it really just does come down to the simple fact that you are ill. You are ill in the body and in the mind. You have no energy. You are close to death. And all the energy that you produce in a single day is being used just to keep you breathing. It's being used to keep you alive. It's being used just to, you got to do the bare minimum. Go to work, get the money, do a very mediocre job, come back home. You got to get your meals in and then veg out. You're surviving. You are surviving. You're a survivor. You're not a thriver. And that's how all of my 20s, unfortunately, all of my 20s felt like I was a survivor. I was simply surviving life. There was a block. I every time I tried to level up, there was a ceiling there. I just couldn't get by, I couldn't get past. And people don't, it's the craziest thing because you don't know it until it ends, until it's ended, until stress starts to release its tentacles out of your mind. And so until you start to see the clouds part a little bit and you start to feel the tension relieve, you start to feel space open up in your mind. You start to feel the fog lift, the pressure lift. Only then do you realize, what the holy shit. Like, this is unbelievable. This is amazing. For me, semen retention has been nothing short of a miracle. It is amazing. And this is the one aspect of it that I absolutely love. I love that. I love being able to operate through life because again, I came from 10 years plus of being scared every time I would go outside my door. I mean, not scared for like my life or whatever, but like you just feel in fear. There's a deep fear. Because you know that you might not be able to handle what the day throws at you. It's possible. There were many days where I really struggled with what the day threw at me. And it wasn't that much. That's the thing. It wasn't that much. It wasn't like I was doing all these crazy things and had this whole life and doing all this and all that. No. No. It was a very basic, mundane life. Hourly job, 9 to 5. Like, it was nothing spectacular. I can't express to you guys enough how unsuccessful I've been in my life. Wildly unsuccessful. So, and I failed a lot. So I know what that's like. I know what that, and so it's so nice. It's so nice to finally, whenever I walk outside my door, I mean, just from the moment I wake up, I mean, my diet's better, my place is clean all the time because I'm cleaning everything, I'm making my bed, everything's in really good shape. I keep everything organized, whereas before I couldn't do that stuff. That was outside of me. That wasn't important to my survival of the organism. You see what I'm saying? The reason that we can't make our bed every morning and we can't go to the gym as much as we want to, and we can't do our side hustles, and we don't have the energy for that, and we can't do this and we can't do that, we can't keep our place clean, we lack organization skills, we lack discernment, we lack the ability to operate clearly and calmly in high pressure stressful situations, is simply because you were, that would take more energy than what you have. All that stuff is not important to your survival. Because you're in a survival mode, because your body is using almost all the energy you have just to keep you alive, it prioritizes and says, we don't need to have a place clean to keep breathing. We don't need to organize our stuff to keep breathing. We don't need to do this side hustle to make $2,000 a month to keep breathing. We don't need a car to keep breathing. We don't need a girlfriend to keep breathing. We don't need this to keep breathing. We don't need that to keep breathing. You see what I'm saying? Your body knows. Your body is smart. It's highly intelligent. It knows what it can do and what it cannot do. And we all know what stress feels like. It starts to feel like it's corrupting your mind. It starts to feel like gunk in the mind. Like you can't, there's no flow. There's no flow. There's pressure. there's an unease. You don't feel just calm, at ease, clear of mind, right? You don't feel clear of mind. You feel like there's gunk in the mind. And there's that sick feeling about it. You're stressed. You feel like you can't work properly. You are inefficient. You have an inefficient mind. Recently, I was delivering, in my delivery job, I was delivering something for a customer, and he was a nice guy, really, really nice guy. Nothing against him. He had a great attitude, as far as, just being nice. Although I've spoken about niceness, but he genuinely seemed there was a genuineness about him. But he, all throughout the interaction, from the loading dock up to his apartment, it was a lot of stuff, and so he was kind of helping me. I could see that, and in most interactions, I take the lead in like delivery because I know exactly what needs to happen. I know the logistics of what needs to happen in the most efficient way. So, and most customers, they kind of sense this, and so they'll just kind of let me just kind of do whatever. And he was same thing, but I could see that the way that he thought about certain things, the way that he was handling himself, the pace of his movements, what he thought like was the best move to do, how to maneuver things around, what to do first, what to do second, all these little things. I could tell by the way that he was operating. I was like, man, I was like, what? I was like, bro, what's up with your mind right now? It's like, there was at one point, I was gonna get a signature on the little device to acknowledge that I delivered it, but I had I'd shown him how to build something, and I gave it to him, and and I was gonna get a signature, and instead of him just leaving it all outside the door, and I could just get a signature, and he could maneuver the stuff inside, and get it in the walkway, in his doorway, he proceeded to like try to move it over other stuff, and he was like he was just looking like a buffoon, looking like a clown, and he had this very like and kind of like anxious, the anxious high stress. I'm just like, bro, this is nothing. This is not that serious. Can you just relax? I just wanted to tell him, there's many people like this. Can you just relax, please? Let me just get a signature. And then I wanted to do it for him. You can move this here and move that here, and then you can do this. And you see what I mean? When you're on semen retention, you're going to start to think efficiently. Although there is an aspect of this where you do need some space in your mind. If you have like a very cluttered mind, this kind of gets into some spiritual stuff. But semen retention, this is a pretty spiritual thing anyway, but you also need to have some sort of space in your mind. You have to have, you got to be aware of your thoughts. You got to be aware of that stuff. There's a huge component there as well. I think that does definitely play a role, because knowing if there's space in your mind, there's space for the intelligence to operate through you. There's space for divine wisdom and intelligence to operate efficiently through you. If you're too much you got all these crazy thoughts, this and that, all these weird things that you're thinking about, all these narratives that just don't even matter, then that's going to block. That's a blockage. That's a block of what you need to be thinking about in certain situations. So that does play a role, but I do strongly think that energy core energy is also a huge part of this in my experience. So semen retention is really going to help you to be able to make the smart decisions. There's so much that I used to think. Back in, I think it was 2016, I was driving Lyft for a couple of years. And I would be stressing out about things I didn't even need to stress out about. I used to stress out, I remember this, I used to stress out about having clean carpet pads in the back seats for the feet. Clean. And so anytime somebody got in and I would drive them and they would arrive and they would get out, I would want to like drive somewhere and pull over so I could go back and I could look and make sure that it's all clean. Stupid. And it would stress me out. I would be doing this stuff, and that's just one example, but that don't matter. That just don't matter at all, because people are constantly getting in your car. You can't just pull over every single time and clean this out. And I remember not only was it that was important to me, but the problem was it was so stressful to me. I remember how it made me feel. Just stupid, man. Stupid stuff. Stupid. There's so much of that. There's so much of that we don't recognize about ourselves, that we're thinking about things and things are stressing us out that are complete nonsense. You don't notice how much of it is absolute nonsense until you're out of it, until you're thinking clearly through things and you feel like, yes, this is how I'm supposed to be operating. This is wise. This is what I should be doing here. This is most efficient here. And it's all effortless. It's all on autopilot. You're not trying to piece any of this together. It just pieces itself together. The efficient mind. Yes. Everything. It is everything. And this also goes for certain fears, certain insecurities, certain patterns of thought, certain patterns of emotions. Oh, what if this happened? And what if they think that? Like all these deep-seated things that prevent us from saying certain things and doing certain things. It's like a web of gunk that just prevents us from doing certain things. A lot of this stuff can get cleared out on semen retention, because now you have energy, and energy don't give a about that stuff. It don't give a crap about your nonsense in your mind. You start to, the energy almost starts to allow you to see how stupid it was. You're like, what? Oh yeah, this don't matter. No. Things just kind of start to disappear. But yeah, the efficient mind. I think I'm going to make this a semen retention video because this is something that I've noticed on semen retention. But I think this is a video that, man, this could help out so many people just that aren't even into semen retention. That's why I debate on whether calling it semen retention or not. But this is everything. To have an efficient mind, a clear mind that knows what to do and what to say and how things should be, you start to become more efficient. The more energy that's coursing through you, the more efficient, the more powerful you become. You start to be able to handle the stress, handle the chaos better and better and better. You have a higher tolerance for it. I mean, that's everything, isn't it? That's everything in life. You are now an individual that can handle that stuff in ways that everybody else cannot. You're going to stand out, and it's not even going to feel like a lot of effort for you. That's the best part. It really is a miracle. think that's it. This video.